I want to thank Jean in the English department for having us. I want to thank Timberly Weitzel and Melissa Mendez and the theater work students who helped clear out this space. There were risers and all kinds of things. I want to thank Acclamation for loaning us their Marley floor so we'd have a nice even surface to work on. Emily Thornton, theater student who volunteered. Not all the bells and whistles are in here to figure out the board, and so I wasn't flipping a switch of lights on and off. We actually have some mood lighting. I'd like to thank my wife Susan, who helped us with the costumes, and thank you all for coming tonight. So tonight's about choices and voices, and actually, as I decided this, it's going to be mostly about choices because there are lots of things you can talk about with choices. If you're just coming in, you can probably scoot along the floor safely. Welcome. Just don't crush the people in front of you. Give them a little space. You can come down closer. I don't think the dancers are going to hurt you. And maybe over here. Wow, see how we need a bigger space. So this is the first for GiViM. And GiViM is the dance major's new dance ensemble. Performance ensemble, so we have an opportunity to perform. And GiViM stands for, as you can see on your cards, God's Instruments Visualized in Motion. So I hope you see that tonight. Our artistic mission aims to integrate the discipline of dance with a passion to serve God and reflect God's image through motion. So tonight we're going to talk about choices. And really, choices, I based it on two books. The book of Paradox of Choice by Barry Schwartz. He also has a TED Talk, so if you are interested in the things we're talking about tonight, you can Google Barry Schwartz and see a very interesting TED Talk about the paradox of choice, as well as Jonas Lair, who wrote How We Decide. And no, I'm not a neuroscientist, but I like thinking about how the brain works and how we work, and that helps me make choices about the kind of dances that I help create sometimes. So tonight I'm going to read some excerpts from the writings in between the dances so you can see where we got our inspiration. The first two dances, you're going to see a solo, which is really the joy of choice and having so many choices. And then the quartet you'll see following that is sort of how we end up finding ourselves searching for answers because there are so many choices. So to start off the night, we have Hannah with Possibilities.
Walk to the color of, walk to the fields, cold as ice, sharp as a penknife's blade. I think I'd do it in a robin's igloo, cold as the egg of a robin who never hatched. Ooh, I could paint this. The color
which way I am going, which way river gonna flow. It just seems that upstream I keep rolling, still got such a long way to go. Still got such a long way to go. Then at last, it's your eyes. I know I swear we'll find somewhere the streets are made of gold, but it's like split the sky. But that's alright, sometimes sunlight comes streaming through the rooms.
Excuse me. So really it comes to that with these 3 days is the wealth and the abundance of things, and with choices. Choices are great things, but then choices cause problems. Don't mind them, they're just getting set up. So when I met with the students in September and I said, okay, we're going to do things about choices, I asked them to give me some things that they thought about choices, things that they thought they had an abundance of choices of. And things came with one thing was choices in Lottie and the amount of food that you could eat. Choices of friends, how to spend time with your friends. Choices of clothing and how to get dressed and deciding what to wear. And the day we were talking about that, one of our students, I won't say who, came in, had a great story about that. And actually that day, it happened to her, I think. She said, because of her roommate doesn't get up as early as she does, now this is a different issue, but because her roommate doesn't get up as early as she does, she dresses in the dark in the morning. So that's a problem in itself. But with that, she went through 3 or 4 or 5 different clothing changes, and then got dressed, went out, and took off her sweater and realized that she was wearing all gray. And she declared, and that is why I'm wearing gray. Because she had so many choices. And along with that, if you read Paradox of Choice, in one section he states that he opened up his wife's clothing catalog, and within the clothing catalog alone, when it comes to choice, he said there were 19 different styles of women's t-shirts, each available in 8 different colors. So if you do that, the math, that's 152 t-shirts that you have to choose from. 10 different styles of shorts, each available in 8 colors, so that's 80 pairs of shorts you could choose from. 8 different styles of chinos available in 68 colors, so about 64 pairs of chinos to choose from. 7 different styles of jeans, each available in 5 colors, so 35 different styles of jeans. If you see his TED Talk, that's what inspired him. One day he decided he wanted a pair of jeans, and he's an older gentleman, and he's used to, there's only one style of jeans. And then when he went there, he realized, well, he found out from the sales merchant, there's loose fit, there's slim fit, there's boot cut, there's baggy, there's tight, there's skinny. And he realized, oh, there's so many choices. And it took him 2 hours to pick a pair of jeans. And even at the bottom, the spring is coming. In this magazine, there was 5 different styles of swimsuit bottoms, each in 5 different colors, and 7 different styles of tops, each in 5 different colors. So ladies could choose could make 875 different kinds of bathing suit variations. And you wonder why it's difficult to make choices. So, this dance here is called "And That Is Why I'm Wearing Gray," and it's about trying to decide just what to wear in the morning.
in Schwartz's book, to add to that, he says, even how we dress for work has taken on a new element of choice with new anxieties. The practice of having a dress-down day or casual day, which began to emerge a decade or so ago, was intended to make life easier for employees, to enable them to save money and feel more relaxed at the office. The effect, however, was just the reverse. In addition to the normal workplace wardrobe, employees had to create workplace casual wardrobe. It couldn't really be the sweat and t-shirts you wore around the house on the weekend. It had to be a selection of clothing that sustained a certain image, relaxed but also meticulous and serious. All of a sudden, the range of wardrobe possibilities was expanded, and a decision-making problem emerged. It was no longer a question of the blue suit or the brown one, the red tie or the yellow one. The question now was, what is casual? A New Yorker piece about this phenomenon identified at least 6 different kinds of casual. There's active casual, rugged casual, sporty casual, dressy casual, smart casual, and business casual. So we have this abundance of choice, but it creates other conundrums. Other thing the students brought up was friendship. Wow, they're fast. Good.
I'm going to talk for a little bit, catch your breath, was friendship. And it was the internet. And one thing I did, just as far as choices, is how much time to spend with friends. And this phenomena of social media and Twitter and Facebook. And scary enough, I was able to look up and see how many friends they had without being their friends. Some of these stand students had almost over 800 friends. So think about choices. Can you keep in contact with 800 friends? I think the average was about 500. So for this next piece, we decided to explore the idea of trying to keep up with all those friends. So if you will with me, imagine for each person that you see represents 100 friends on Facebook. And one of these dancers is trying to keep in contact, if you use your imagination, with 400 people. And this is, we're all here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, friends.
Can you feel me? The information that you're seeking, the sensation, get sneaky as you're reaching for the ceiling. Cause no fighting, the igniting, this reciting is inviting. All systems go out on the floor. This is what you came here for. Hi friend, 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 hi friend. All systems go out on the floor. This is what you came here for. Your mind is open, your thoughts are flying. Still the past is amplified. Taking form as you come blind. Grab your nose and carry on with mine. Without tension, embrace mention. Show ascension, peace retention. All systems go out on the floor. This is what you came here for. Hi friend, 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 hi friend,
They collaborated a lot with me in creating the movement for that, and they had a good time doing it. So the next thing we talked about was relationship choices, life choices, marriage choices, and even that aspect of it from Schwartz's book. He talks about a graduate student who had just fallen in love and decided to get married. And the premise is, oh, well, I'm getting married, that's all I need to know. But then he poses a whole bunch of questions that fall in line with once you make the decision that, yes, we're going to get married. He says that first they had to decide whether to live together. This decision involved weighing the virtues of independence against the virtues of interdependence and measuring various practical advantages, convenience, and financial savings of living together against possible parental disapproval. A short time later, they had to decide when and how to get married. Should they wait until their respective careers were more settled or not? Should they have a religious ceremony? If so, would it be his religion or hers? Next came a series of related choices. Should they look for the best possible job and be open to the possibility that they might have to live apart for some time? If not, whose career should get priority? In looking for jobs, should they restrict their search to be near his family on the West Coast or hers on the East? Should they ignore geography completely and just look for the best jobs they could find? They thought they had made all the hard decisions when they fell in love and made a mutual commitment. Should that be enough? A range of life choices has been available to Americans for quite some time, but in the past, the default option were so powerful and dominant that few perceived themselves to be making choices. Whom we married was a matter of choice, but what we knew that if we would do it as soon as we could and have children, because that was something all people did. Nowadays, people have the option of waiting, deciding when to have kids, or there's a more perceived option, that there are so many more options to decide, weighing heavily on another thing we have to choose from instead of tradition. Today, all romantic possibilities are on the table, all choices are real, which is another explosion of freedom, but which is also another set of choices to occupy our attention and fuel our anxieties. So this next piece we created based on the idea of marriage and struggling with the idea of commitment, and we used a song called Settle Down, which is about that. And as we started creating it, I didn't even realize that there was a culture here. The ladies helped me come up with a title for this, that here, the joke is that you get your ring by spring. So we decided with this struggle to get married, not to get married, when to get married, should I get married, we titled this piece, Ring by Spring.
Boom, ba boom, ba. Boom, ba boom, ba. Boom, ba boom, ba. Boom, 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 ba. I wanna settle down. Boom, boom, ba. I wanna settle down. Boom, boom, ba. Won't you settle down with me? Settle down. Boom, boom, ba. We can settle at a table. Boom, boom, ba. A table for two. Won't you wine and dine with me? Settle down. Boom, boom, ba. I wanna raise a child. I wanna raise a child. Won't you raise a child with me? Raise a child. We'll call her Nebraska. Nebraska Jones. She'll have your moves. Just so you know. I wanna settle down. I wanna settle down. Won't you settle down with me? Settle down. From Angela Pickers. I saw her with you Monday morning, small in on the afternoon. She's got a fancy car. She wants to take you far from the city lights in South Beach to the baby, there's no need to run. I'll love you well. I wanna settle down. It's time to bring you down. On just one knee for now. Let's make our
This next piece is the piece we've been working on. It sort of culminates with the idea of all these choices that we're experiencing. And I'll start with a paragraph from Jonah Lehrer talking about all this information, saying, we live in a culture that's awash in information. It's the age of Google, cable news, and free online encyclopedias. We get anxious whenever we are cut off from all this knowledge, as if it's impossible for anyone to make a decision without a search engine. But this abundance comes with some hidden costs. The main problem is the human brain wasn't designed to deal with such a survey of data. As a result, we are constantly exceeding the capacity of our prefrontal cortices, which is the analytical front part of our brain that your emotions kick in and your analytical Spock part says, no, calm down, it's okay. Feeding them more facts and figures than they can handle. And if they're more than the prefrontal cortex can handle, then usually emotions win. So it's like trying to run a new computer program on an old machine, the antique microchips, try to keep up, but eventually they fizzle out. As Herbert Simon says, we have a wealth of information. A wealth of information creates a poverty of attention. So with social media and with advertising, we're constantly, without even making choices, without even knowing it, we're making choices, which actually wears out our brain a little bit. So when you're holding that phone, you're making a choice whether or not, do I check my Twitter account? Oh, I heard a ding, do I check my email? You're making a choice. In your brain, there's a little choices, and you're constantly going, And if you study your brain a little bit more, it's kind of like the slot machines. Because slot machines, another thing that's interesting about the brain, when you have something new kick in, there's this fun little juice called dopamine. And so when you have something new, and that's where they get you with the slot machines, you get a little squirt of dopamine. And what happens with social media, I think, is it's so random, you like that new little thing even though it's pretty superfluous. So you get used to that little shot of dopamine so that you have it by your bed, because just in case you might miss that, Anna got a new dress, right? Which Hannah bought a Coke. It doesn't matter, but you're making those choices, and your brain kind of gets tired. And then you have all these advertisers saying, this is what you need, this is what you need, this is what you need. You're making a choice as to whether you need those things or not. And as you read blogs, and we did research, they called it a phenomenon called decision fatigue. So we explored creating a piece of dancers, people. What does it look like being inundated with Twitter 24/7? And on top of that, classes, and then all the different things you can wear nowadays. The abundance of choice, what food you can eat, when to be with friends. And it's creating another interesting phenomenon, which I'll read from Schwartz. He states, the American middle class now experiences control and personal autonomy to a degree unimaginable to people living in other times and places. Millions of Americans can live exactly the lives they choose, barely constrained by material, economic, or cultural limitations. They, not their parents, get to decide whether, when, and whom they marry. They, not their religious leaders, get to decide how they dress. And they, not their government, get to decide what they watch on television or read. This autonomy, coupled with the helplessness theory of depression, might suggest that clinical depression in the United States should be disappearing. The helplessness theory is the fact that if we have more choices, we're not victims, we're in control. And when we're in control, we're less likely to get depressed because we're in charge. So you would think with more choices, we're in charge, there would be less depression. But the statistics are showing us differently. Instead, we see explosive growth in the disease of depression, writes Martin Seligman. And he calls it an epidemic. Depression seems to attack its victims at a younger age now than in earlier eras. Current estimates are that as many as 7.5% of Americans have an episode of clinical depression before they are 14. This is twice the rate seen in young people only 10 years earlier. And the most extreme manifestation of depression, suicide, is also on the rise, and it too is happening younger. Suicide is the second leading cause of death after accidents among American high school and college students. In the past 35 years, the suicide rate among American college students has tripled. So as you can see, we're supposed to be happier with more choices, but statistics are showing that we're not happier. And part of this is that with more choices comes the expectation, well, I have more choices, so I should find the best choice. And just because we have more choices, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to find a better choice. So it causes this vicious cycle of expectation that I have more choices, so I should be happier, and I'm picking them on my own, I'm in control, what's wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with you. It's just, it doesn't always work that way. So with that in mind, we created this piece called Decision Fatigue. So is it all doom and gloom? No. No, the lesson here is to figure out what you value, what things are important to you, and decide what things you want to make choices about and give precedence and relevance to the things that are important to you. One area found in our happiness, written by political scientist Robert Lane, who wrote the book The Loss of Happiness in Market Democracies. Lane writes that we are paying for increased affluence and increased freedom with a substantial decrease in quality and quantity of social relations. We earn more and spend more, but we spend less time with others. More than a quarter of Americans report being lonely, and loneliness seems to come not from being alone, but from the lack of intimacy. So maybe people have 800 Facebook friends, but how many friends do they have for a cup of coffee? And as human beings, humanitarians, social interaction and live things like this, I think, are much more valuable and palatable than anything a computer can create. We spend less time visiting with neighbors, we spend less time visiting with our parents, and much less time visiting with our relatives. And once again, this phenomena adds to our burden of choice. As Lane writes, what was once given by the neighborhood and work now must be achieved on your own. People have had to make their own friends and actively cultivate their own family connections. In other words, our social fabric is no longer a birthright, but has become a series of deliberate and demanding choices. So wanted to end the evening with a simple duet and then a simple solo expressing again the joy of choice and creative choice. But really it's about social interaction and simple choices, and that's why we created this simple duet, which is untitled.
Life can get so complicated. You forget what's real, you forget what's good. And they tell you you're educated if you complicate the simple truth, yeah, yeah. What's it all about? Let's break it down. All you need is a listening ear and a smiling face and a shoulder that you can cry on. All you need is a listening ear and a smiling face and a shoulder that you can cry on. You can cry on. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you believe that we'll live forever, or we'll just go back to the dust we're from? When morality's up for sale, do you still believe in right and wrong? Yeah, yeah. What's it all about? Let's break it down. All you need is a listening ear and a smiling face and a shoulder that you can cry on. All you need is a listening ear and a smiling face and a shoulder that you can cry on. You can cry on. Life can get so complicated. You They tell you you're educated if you complicate the simple truth, yeah, yeah. What's it all about? Let's break it down. All you need is a listening ear and a smiling face and a shoulder that you can cry on. All you need is a listening ear and a smiling face and a shoulder that you can cry on. All you need is a listening ear and a smiling face and a shoulder that you can cry on. A listening ear and a smiling face and a shoulder that you can cry on. You can cry on.